On ASEAN Highlight this week, we have a special interview with Jose Ramos-Horta, the president of Timor-Leste, who speaks to our reporter about the prospect of joining ASEAN. And then we take a look at the ASEAN Foreign Ministers retreat in Lombok, Indonesia, where the ASEAN Foreign Ministers talk shop about Myanmar, South China Sea and football. And lastly, we strut down the Bollywood red carpet in Singapore and we talk to Singapore's prominent independent film director Eric Khoo about his upcoming project and the prospect of Asian cinema.
Before we proceed, here are some quick updates of the headlines from around the region this week. At a special session yesterday, the Phnom Penh court has ruled that the 5 Thai detainees are guilty of entering Cambodia and its military area. They were each sentenced to 9 months in prison and a fine of 1 million reals. Nevertheless, the 5, which includes Democrat Party MP Panit Wikitsaid, were allowed to return to Thailand as the court suspended their jail terms. And upon leaving the courthouse, the Democrat MP said that everything done is for the future relation of Thailand and Cambodia, as well as the spirit of ASEAN community. Meanwhile, the Thai Patriot Network activist Weera Somkwamkit and his secretary Ratri Pipathana Phaiboon have their trial date set for February 1st, where both are faced with espionage charges by the prosecutors. And further east from Phnom Penh, another notable event this week in the ASEAN region was the 11th National Congress of the Communist Party of Vietnam. The 8-day-long meeting, which happens once every 5 years, was wrapped up on Wednesday. The meeting of nearly 1,400 delegates that represented more than 3.6 million Communist Party members across Vietnam has resulted in the charting of new policies, as well as the appointment of newer generations to a third of the 15-man Politburo. The party's ideologue, Nguyen Phu Trong, was appointed the new General Secretary of the party, while Prime Minister Nguyen Tân Dung was reappointed as party leader, paving way for him to serve a second term. The party hopes that the injection of new blood into its top leadership circle will help Vietnam's national development, particularly in the area of economic management. And at the Congress, the Vietnamese Communist Party also decided for the first time to allow owners of private businesses to join the party on a trial basis, a move that aims to add a new dimension to the management of the national economy.
Earlier in the week, Thai news agency News Team had a chance to accompany Thai Foreign Minister Kasit Pirom to Timor-Leste and had a chance to interview with its president, Jose Ramos-Horta. There might be a new member to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations by this year or 2012. And for many, it is only a matter of time that East Timor or Timor-Leste, the first sovereign state to emerge in the 21st century, will be accepted into the club of nations in this region. Thai news agency team had a chance to interview Timor-Leste President and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Jose Ramos-Horta in Dili when the Thai Foreign Minister Kasit Pirom paid him an official visit, and we asked the President how he felt about joining ASEAN.
Thinking about Timor-Leste joining ASEAN, believe me, it goes back to 1974.
The President went on to explain how joining ASEAN could benefit Timor-Leste, particularly in the area of economic development.
But by joining ASEAN, it would have a tremendous impact because it would force us to work harder because on a daily basis we are dealing with ASEAN countries, ASEAN leaders, business, and inevitably Timor-Leste will its development will accelerate. If we don't join now, it will take, the pace of development will be slower because no one is pressuring us, no one is watching really. While if we join ASEAN, we have obligations. and we will have dozens and dozens of ASEAN delegations all the time. I think that alone will have a very healthy impact.
The Nobel Peace Laureate adds that East Timor has and will always be a part of Southeast Asian region in a variety of ways. And because of this, they will always aspire to be part of the ASEAN community.
The Timor-Leste feel passionately, emotionally and culturally as part of Southeast Asia. We are very proud to be part of this region. For hundreds of years, we are all disconnected through colonial history, through wars. ASEAN came into being to unite the peoples of Southeast Asia with a common vision of peace, of stability, of security and prosperity. 10 ASEAN countries succeeded. Tremendous progress in the last 4 decades, from when it began in the height of the Vietnam War, and the world changed upside down for the better, and Timor-Leste was the only missing link.
Moves are now in place for the inclusion of Timor-Leste into ASEAN before 2015, and Ramos-Horta expresses his wish to see his country inclusion into the association within this year, when the regional group is being chaired by Indonesia. The incredible support from Indonesia for Timor-Leste to join ASEAN in recent years serves as a great example to the world how old adversaries can become friends. And the Nobel Peace Laureate adds that the final decision, if taken this year, would shed a good light on the association itself. The 10 foreign ministers from ASEAN countries met in Lombok, Indonesia earlier this week, where they talk about a variety of issues. More in this report. At Lombok, Indonesia, the region's foreign ministers got together to discuss the various regional approaches to various security challenges, like the territorial dispute in the South China Sea between China and some ASEAN states, as well as the ongoing tension in the Korean Peninsula. What grabbed the headlines were the calls made by the region's top diplomats for the lifting of sanctions imposed by Western countries against Myanmar. The ASEAN foreign ministers cited the first election in 2 decades and the release of pro-democracy and Nobel Peace Laureate Aung San Suu Kyi as a positive development in Myanmar, and thus the international community should respond positively to this development. While this issue will certainly be revisited and debated in the international community, it is quite apparent that the current sanctions do very little to support democratic reform in the country during the past decade. ASEAN clearly signals its intention to push for a greater international engagement with Myanmar, and this perhaps can bring improvement to the Southeast Asian country. Engagement, after all, does not mean appeasement to the whims of any particular political groups in the country. Another hot issue that makes the headlines from the Lombok meeting was ASEAN's desire to host the World Cup in the year 2030. And if the concept is approved by ASEAN leaders, the region can start soliciting for bids in January of 2017. We took this opportunity to discuss this prospective bid with Thai news agency Sports News Team.
การจัดบอลโลกแต่ละครั้งเนี่ยเขาจะต้องดูความพร้อมของสนามในภูมิภาคเราเนี่ยทางอาเซียนเนี่ยมีแค่10ประเทศใน10ประเทศเนี่ยถามว่ามันมีสนามมีความพร้อมสักกี่ประเทศมีไทยมีมาเลเซียมีอินโดนีเซียที่สามารถจัดได้นอกจากนี้แล้วจะต้องดูในส่วนของสาธารณูปโภคด้วยเราจะต้องดูการคมนาคมขนส่งด้วยถ้าเกิดเราบริตได้เป็นเจ้าภาพบอลโลกจริงในปี 2030 เนี่ยมีโอกาสไหมที่จะได้เข้าไปแข่งโดยอัตโนมัติฝีเท้าพอเพียงไหมผมมองว่าคือเข้าไปร่วมการแข่งขันเนี่ยถ้าเราเป็นในฐานะเจ้าภาพเนี่ยฝีเท้าเราพัฒนาได้ศักยภาพนักเตะไทยไม่แพ้ประเทศอื่นแต่ว่าในเรื่องของระบบการจัดการระบบการเล่นอะไรต่างๆนะเราจะต้องปรับปรุงพัฒนาขึ้นไปอีกเยอะถ้าหากวันนี้เรารู้ว่าเราจะเป็นเจ้าภาพอีก20 ปีข้างหน้าหรือ19 ปีข้างหน้าเนี่ยวันนั้นเริ่มตั้งแต่ในระดับเยาวชนไล่ขึ้นมาพัฒนาขึ้นมาเรื่อยๆปูแผนทำแนวทางขึ้นมาดีๆผมเชื่อว่าฝีเท้าของนักเตะไทยพัฒนาได้ค่ะซึ่งตอนนี้ฟุตบอลลีกในประเทศเราก็แบบพัฒนาขึ้นเรื่อยๆแล้วแต่ถ้าโอเคเขาประกาศปุ๊บว่าอาเซียนได้จัดปุ๊บมันก็คือประกาศล่วงหน้าเยอะมากใช่ไหมคะเด็กๆก็จะได้มีกำลังใจแล้วก็อยากให้น้องๆที่เป็นนักกีฬาเนี่ยคือรู้ว่าเขาซ้อมหนักแล้วเขาจะได้มีจุดมุ่งมั่นมีจุดมุ่งหมายในการที่เขาจะเป็นนักกีฬาต่อไปค่ะ
At this early stage, the 2030 bid raises questions of ASEAN readiness in all football-related infrastructure, and the desire to host the World Cup will need to be matched with realistic capability of all 10 ASEAN countries. Perhaps what can also be discussed among the region's power that be in the football world is the improvement of the various national football leagues in Southeast Asia. Maybe the region's football associations could work out some sort of arrangement to form a regional football Premier League in order to raise the overall standard of Southeast Asian football. Whatever is the outcome, the 2030 bid should not be examined only on its political implication, but also on footballing matters as well. We wrap things up this week by strutting down the red carpet in Singapore and talks to the Lion City's prominent director Eric Khoo about the prospect of Asian cinema. After 2 years of absence, the Zee Cine Award finally returns last weekend in Singapore, and our news team was there to witness the heavyweight of the Hindi film industry gracing the red carpet in the Southeast Asian island city-state. The CEO of Zee Entertainment, Puneet Goenka, explained to us that it was the poor global economy that contributed to the 2 years' absence of the award ceremony. Bowman Irani, this year's best performer in a comic role for the Bollywood hits Well Done Abba, told us about the support Hindi films have been receiving internationally.
Well, we've contributed, haven't we? We were in Germany recently, and it was strange that, most of the fans that came to watch the film and to support Shah Rukh Khan and the other actors were all non-Indians. It is so fantastic to see that, people who don't understand our language, just love the kind of movies that we make.
While in Singapore, we also caught up with the city-state prominent independent film director Eric Khoo, who have directed notable films like Me Pokman, 12 Stories, Be With Me and My Magic, which won a nomination for the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival in 2008. He told us about his latest project, which is an animated feature.
I've been a big fan of this cartoon. It's called Yushiro Tatsumi for over 2 decades. And when I discovered his autobiography, A Drifting Life, I was totally inspired by it, 800 pages of this man's life story. So I made a trip to Japan to meet him and decided to do a full-length animated feature on his life and also his short stories. After discussing with him, and also for me, I used to do comic books, so I have the ability to draw and all, but I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd do an animated feature. But being a fan of his and loving his artwork so much, we agreed on this project together, and then with a very creative animation team in Batam, Indonesia, we're putting Tatsumi together, and we've been working on it for about a year now, and I would expect the film to be released first quarter of 2011.
The Singapore director told us how his Tatsumi project, as well as his film projects in the past, has led him to collaborate with filmmakers from across Asia. The Pan-Asian approach in many ways also contribute to the hybridity of style that provide part of the charm for cinema enthusiasts.
Asia is almost like a whole, and I've always enjoyed collaborating with the Japanese or our fellow neighbors, and I think that is the way to go. And I mean, making Tatsumi, it's essentially a Japanese language film with Japanese storylines and all that, but yet, I'm directing it and I'm from Singapore and the animators are Filipino, Indonesians. It's a whole hybrid of Asians all coming together. We've also, in the past, done co-productions, with different countries, and I look forward very much also to working with Thailand.
Eric Khoo also points out that Southeast Asian cinema have now come very far, with many of its films and directors recognized all over the world.
Even if you look at Indonesia and Malaysia, in terms of local productions, they're really breaking out, doing very well. And I think it's also important that these films, doing well at home, also get the opportunity to travel. And as we've seen a lot of the Thai movies, they do travel and travel very, very well. I would say for Southeast Asian films, it's really quite a good time now.
Well, that's it for ASEAN Highlight this week. And on behalf of the ASEAN desk here, I hope you all have a lovely weekend. สวัสดีครับ